Hello beautiful people, welcome back. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today I'm bringing you my friend and my guest, Amy. So she's a lawyer by day and a modern calligrapher by night. And now she is launching a podcast. Her hard work and her efforts just show you how when you have a goal, you would do everything to achieve it. The podcast that she's launching, Live Life Well, will touch on the 6 aspects to live a holistic life. She stumbled upon this lesson when she had a health issue herself, which she will be sharing in the interview. Her whole intention for this podcast is to share and empower other millennials that you can live life smarter and better. I can't wait for you to hear her stories, and please continue watching till the end because she has a little something for you. Enjoy! Thank you so much for your time today because I know you have work and you are sparing your time to share your journey and your story with more people now. So I really appreciate it.
Cool. That's all right. I am glad to be here.
Before we talk about your service and everything, I would like to ask, how are you feeling today?
I am doing well. I think that I had a rather productive weekend, which is good. Like just doing a few things in small business and having time for rest and just spending time not thinking too much about my day job, which is also important, I think, on the weekends, to have that separation between what you do in your employment and then also what you do for relaxation. So yeah, I'm feeling good. And I think often some people think Monday is like, they really dread Mondays, but I think that because I'm finally in a role where I really enjoy the work I'm doing, then it actually gives me a lot of enjoyment. Like I enjoy Mondays. Like obviously it's a bit of a weird one because I wasn't always like this, I guess. It's only been more recently because I've finally found a role that I'm passionate about and that I enjoy, and I think you can really tell, I think, internally, like the difference it makes when you're doing something you're passionate about. So yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
No worries. I love it. I love how you're sharing that. So I hope your employer will be listening.
Maybe.
Well, because not everyone knows about you and what you do and about Art by Ames and of course your podcast. So would you like to share your story and your journey with more people, please?
Sure, of course. So hi everyone, my name's Amy and I work as an employment law lawyer based in Melbourne, and currently working at home. And I also have a side business called Art by Ames, which is a modern calligraphy studio that I run out of my own home as well. And I create special mementos, I guess, for memorable events such as weddings and baby showers, bridal showers, that kind of thing. So signage, gifts for your bridal party, that kind of thing. But then also more recently enjoying the online space a little bit more, so just more pushing into like gifts for Mother's Day, for example, and also watercolor portraits as well, which is a new thing of mine. So I think as an artist you're constantly evolving and allowing yourself to have the freedom to try different things. So I think that when I started my business about 18 months ago, I was very focused on modern calligraphy, and that's still like something I love, and I would teach workshops and still planning to do workshops somehow in the online space. We're still work in progress, but yeah, really enjoying just exploring my creativity and encouraging others through my journey and my story as well to do the same. Because I think that the reason why I went to modern calligraphy outside of the law was that I needed a creative outlet. So I think about like a year or two of my career as a lawyer, I just found that I didn't have anything just for me. Like I was always doing things for other people, but in terms of a creative outlet, that seemed to be like a something that wasn't being satisfied, I guess. And so I thought, at the time I was scrolling through Instagram, as you do, and one of my friends had started this thing called hand lettering or brush lettering, and I'm like, oh, this looks really interesting. And I think because the entry level is actually quite low, like you don't need a lot of stuff, like you don't need heaps of paints or anything like that. You literally just need a piece of paper and a brush pen, and then you can get started. And so I was like, okay, I think I can manage this while I'm practicing as a lawyer. And I just did this as a hobby really for about a year and a half. And then when I got engaged to my now husband, like I thought, oh, I'll just create all the things that I need for my wedding, like the place cards, the signage, invitations. And so really just dived deep into that and just really enjoyed it. And then, yeah, so that's, I don't know how far you want me to go down that track, but yeah, so that's kind of how it started. And then it was kind of, I got to a point where I was creating things for other people, and one of my friends actually asked me to create something for her friend. So that was when I first started thinking, like, I think I should charge for this, maybe. And yeah, just kind of went a deep dive into learning about business, how do you promote yourself online, and had understanding your audience, all those kind of things. And then yeah, just kind of took the leap and registered an ABN and business name, all that kind of stuff in August 2018. And so that's kind of the business. And then I know you mentioned like podcasting as well. I don't know if you want me to go into that now or later.
Before you go into the podcast, I would love to say thank you for sharing that story, because I actually was gonna prompt the question being like, but how did you stumble upon this? So thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
And I will also be showcasing your work throughout the interview. So for whoever that is listening and watching and that love Amy's work, feel free to contact her. Her information will be in the description below. Now let's talk about the podcast.
Okay, sure. So the podcast idea, really, like starting a podcast as a whole, probably started in my brain in about the start of January 2019. Like I remember at the start of that year, I was sitting down with a friend, we were having coffee, and we just started talking about like creativity and how much like it was life-giving to us, and and we just had this beautiful conversation. And then at the end of it, I was just like, oh, I really wish I had recorded this, because like this was just too good, and I felt like I couldn't fully like even express, like regurgitate what we had shared, because it was just so in the moment. And then it just got me thinking, for that whole of last year, I was just like, oh, I really want to start this podcast, but I just didn't really have a lot of the mental like space to do it last year, because I think I was focused on a lot of different things. And I think towards I think I mentioned this to you, Ting, before when we've chatted, like in September, like I had an infection, which basically meant that I had really severe back pain and stomach cramps for a very short period of time, because I think in the lead up to it, the infection had already started happening in my body. I just was ignoring the signs. And I think that when you ignore the signs that your body is telling you to slow down or to recalibrate certain things in your life, that's where you run into trouble. So I basically burnt out a little bit, and my body was telling me you need to make some changes. So I kind of went on this conference. Like I think the week that I had the infection, I was due to go to a conference in Brisbane. It was like a leadership conference, and thankfully I was able to make it there, because there was an amazing lady who spoke about health and wellness essentially, and how there are these 6 dimensions of health that if we neglect one of them, then it basically means that things are out of balance. So I walked away from that conference being really like, you could say like convicted in a way, like of how I was been living my life and how I wasn't looking after my body. And like I made some radical changes to get myself back on track. I, signed up with a personal trainer and, kind of started winding things down so that I had some space to breathe and be human again. Like, I think we live in such an achievement based society that we're always chasing the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And when you finally slow down enough to recognize, I guess, what's important, how do you actually live in a way that's you're thriving and not just surviving, you kind of get a new perspective on life. So this is a very long-winded way to say how this podcast came about, but essentially at the start of this year I was like, this is the year, this is the podcast year. And I obviously didn't know that COVID-19 was going to happen, but I had planned in my head, I was like, 1st of May was when this was going to be launched, which is coming up this week. And I just felt like it was a very timely thing, because the purpose of the podcast is really to share part of my journey, I guess, of failing, but then how do you get back on track? And particularly like our target audience is millennials, like people of our generation, I guess, who maybe have struggled a little bit in finding that balance in life. And so our mission is to help millennials thrive and not just survive, so that they can live a life full of purpose, joy and delight. So that's what the podcast is about. And I'm intending to interview people who kind of have experience in different areas that they can share their wisdom in, but also share like my story, and then like interview other people who are doing different things. And it's really exciting.
Yeah, I'm excited for you and for those who will be tuning in. So the details will again be in the description below. So if you're already intrigued, go check it out. Now, thank you so much for sharing the health issue, the infection part. On that note, I just want to remind whoever that's listening and watching that you don't have to hit a health issue or have something terrible happen to you to start making change. You can do that now. So I know that you have been through a social media fasting.
Yeah.
Would you like to share that journey with more people?
Yeah. So I have obviously been on social media for some time to promote my business, and really love the community aspect of social media, like, and how you can build connections with people. I think we met first via social media. So there's really a lot of good benefits from it. But I think in the lead up to Easter, I was thinking of what I could give up as part of the Lenten kind of tradition, and I was like, I think social media, I kind of given like a throwaway comment to my husband. I was like, maybe I should fast from social media. And he kind of looked at me, he was just like, are you sure? Like, I don't think you can actually do that. And I, being the internal kind of like rebel that I sometimes am, I was just like, I'm going to prove you wrong, So in part, I was just like, okay, I'm going to give myself a challenge to stay off social media for, I think it was in essence like almost 7 weeks, which is a long time in social media land. And as I got closer to the date when I was going to start this, I actually got really nervous, because I was just like, what's going to happen? Like, am I going to lose like all my followers, or what? You think of all these like worst case scenarios in your head. But I just bit the bullet, and kind of like within a week I just noticed a fair bit of change, because I was just like, first couple of days was hard, because you kind of keep going to your phone because you're so used to doing that. It just becomes a habit that you didn't even realize you had. And then after a week I was like, I feel a lot calmer. And I felt like there was a lot less noise in my life, and because often we can just hear a lot of things that are being shared on social media, or we go into that comparison kind of mindset as well. So like we're always comparing ourselves to what other people are doing. But it was just really nice just to stop for a little bit. And so I really enjoyed that time off social media. And then when I came back, I was just like, oh, you know, what am I, and I just actually got a fair bit of, I think I shared with you, like information fatigue. Like there was just so much going on and so much like you almost get a bit of anxiety from it because it's like just too much. And so I just decided that I really wanted to be very intentional about how I use social media, and so that it doesn't become like a mindless kind of exercise, but more of a mindful decision as to how I engage. And also that not just in terms of engagement, but also like what am I sharing? Like, am I just adding to the noise, or am I actually doing something that is going to be beneficial for someone, or you know, is going to encourage someone in whatever situation they're going through, those kind of things. So yeah, so that's kind of the lessons I learned away from social media. And it's not a perfect kind of formula that I have. Like I initially, before I came back to social media, I was like, oh, I had some really strict guidelines. I'm like, I'm only going to spend 15 minutes on Instagram, 15 minutes on Facebook. And then within the first day or so, I'm like, this is not practical.
Yeah.
I was like, so it's more about like, what are you doing when you're there? You know, like I was trying to work out what's my intentions when I'm on social media.
Yeah.
And then also maybe blocking out times when I'm not, like I'm actively not there, so that I can make time for other things, like investing my time elsewhere, like in certain relationships, or just having less screen time as well. I think is really important, particularly when we're in a time where most things are on social media. Like we catch up with friends via social media now because we can't see them in person. So
yeah.
You know, just trying to work out what's a healthy balance. And again, it's, you know, you have to find what works. So one of the things that I'm trying to do is that when I go to sleep, I put my phone away from my bed, because I used to, and it's, you know, embarrassing, but I think a lot of people do it. It's like they sleep with their phone like next to them or something like that, right? So I'm trying to put it away, like kind of either plug it in at the wall at the end of the bed or something, so that I try to not let it be the first thing that I engage with when I wake up. And so like, yeah, I have like a morning ritual, you could say, that I go through before I go to my phone. And that's been really helpful, because then you're not letting, say, what's happening on social media or what's on the news dictate your day, but you are setting the intention for your day. It's like, you know, how am I going to approach the day, or how am I going to be mindful of other people today without being influenced by what can be very chaotic, I think, either on social media or on the news right now because of the whole COVID stuff. So.
Yeah, definitely. Would you like to share your morning routine then with everyone?
Okay, yeah, sure. I'm happy to do that. So again, everyone's different. For me, I actually like to start off with a bit of silence. And so I've kind of set my clock, my timer for like 10 minutes of silence. I'm trying to slowly work it up. And it's just an opportunity to breathe, center yourself for the day. And for me, because I have a faith, I just ask God, I'm like, God, you know, can you just, I'm just here, I'm waiting, and being open to what he might, you know, bring up in my mind, in my heart, that kind of thing. And then after that, I will just do some journaling practices. So I have like a Thanksgiving or like gratitude journal. So I just think about the last 24 hours and what are the 3 things that I can be grateful for. And often I think particularly when you haven't been going out and you haven't been doing heaps of stuff, like one of the things I'm always just very thankful for is just health. You know, right now, health is like, we live in Australia, so we're not too impacted by, there's not as many cases of COVID, but like it can become like it's a very real thing like that is out there. So just even being thankful for things like health is such a great thing. And then for me, like I said, journaling, prayer and meditation, those kind of things, like things that are just going to set your mind in the right direction, I guess, for the day. And often, you know, if I can, I'll get a coffee before I start work. So that's kind of what I do. If like on days where I do like exercise as well, so I try to have like four mornings a week where I put in exercise as part of that morning routine.
Yep.
And that's a really good way to kind of get your body moving. And I find that if I do it in the morning, then I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the day. Because often, like you're working in professional services or even running your own business, like the day just gets away with it, like with itself if you don't do it in the morning. So yeah. That's my routine.
I love it. And it sounds like you have picked up a few good habits and killed a few bad ones.
Yeah.
So what are the bad habits that you have limited and what are the good ones that you have picked up?
Okay. Yep, sure. So bad ones, like I said, it's not fully extinguished, I must say, is the whole like grabbing my phone as the first point of call. So that's one. I wouldn't say I've gone fully rid of it, but it's a work in progress and it's an active thing that I'm thinking about. I think the bad habit as well is, and a lot of it has to do with like technology, to be honest.
Don't blame me.
I think not constantly checking my emails or you know, how many likes you get on your Instagram post and things like that. Like I think when you first start, obviously you're trying to build your business, right? If you're or like a following or for whatever it is. And I got really obsessed with the vanity metrics, sorry. So, you know, like how many likes you get on a post or how many followers. And it really kind of ate at me a lot, and I just found like I was always comparing myself with other people, and so I think, but since I had a break from social media, I think coming back and I'm like, oh, those things don't mean too much anymore. Like I think for me it's been more about like, oh, how do I connect with my audience? How do I build community? How am I communicating, like, you know, in a way that's effective? So I think like that's probably a good habit, like in terms of reframing my mind. Like I said, I think silence has been really key as well. That's been a good habit that I've had, and spending time in solitude or, you know, by yourself is also helpful for that, because I think and I might caveat this with the fact that I am intrinsically more of an introvert than an extrovert. So I think spending time by myself is a lot easier, because I know that for extroverts that's a real challenge. But I do find that when you are away from, say, even other people, it does give you an opportunity it gives your mind an opportunity to process things, I think. Because often we don't deal with issues because we like to distract ourselves from them. And social media is a great way in which you can distract yourself. So I think if you give yourself some space to breathe and have time to yourself, a lot of good things can happen. It can be confronting, I will say that, because sometimes there's just stuff that you just haven't dealt with for some time, and they'll surface because you're finally giving it time to surface. So I think going into it with that understanding that those things will happen, but that it's for your good, and that it's actually a good thing when these things happen, I think is something that I've learned and something that I found really helpful So
I
hopefully
love
that
it.
helps. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being so raw and honest, because I'm sure what you have said, a lot of people can relate. And so, yeah, like you truly just show what you have experienced with everyone. I was actually gonna ask, because I'm sure there are still some people that kind of struggle to snap out of their bad habits. But you mentioned, it's gonna resurface. It's gonna be hard. But how can they start now?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I have this thing that I've found along my journey, which is called, I don't know if I shared this with you, team, but it's called a rule of life. And it sounds like really like big and kind of like all out there, but it's really not. It's really just a framework. I just think a framework is helpful. So kind of just dividing, and this again is just one way, it's not the way to do it, but dividing kind of your life into a few different like quadrants, right? So you've got your body, your relationships, your rest, work and money, even like hospitality, generosity, those kind of things. And in a way, like the podcast kind of will touch on, the podcast that I will be launching soon, we'll talk on kind of like the different areas that you can think about. But for me at the moment, it's like, what are some daily practices that I can put in place? What are some weekly practices, monthly, quarterly, annually, that kind of thing, that will actually help me move towards the person that I want to be? Because often like we get so stuck in like the here and the now that we forget that, every day is a new day, and you got an opportunity to take a step forward. Just because things haven't worked out in the past, it doesn't mean that you can't make some changes to become that person that you envisage for your life. So for me, like I said, my daily practices are the ones that I shared with you, like the morning routines. And then, like, for example, my daily goals, I like to sleep 7 hours, for example. Sleep's really important. It's something that I neglected ages ago. Like I would just stay up to way past like midnight to finish orders and stuff in my business, and it just accumulated to like the health issues that I told you about. So things like keeping, like from the business perspective, like keeping records of daily expenses, that kind of thing, so that it doesn't become all overwhelming. And so I think like just having something written down is helpful for people. Like if you're like, I don't know where to start, I think just start with maybe the areas that you're finding most challenging, and then but do it in a way that, and it sounds weird because people are like, do what's easy. But I think if you can firstly identify like the challenges that you're having, and then maybe almost like write out what are the ways, like almost like work backwards from it. Okay, like what do I need to, in order to move to a step closer to fixing this problem, kind of thing, and then just take it one day at a time. Like, because I mentioned before, like my social media kind of principles or rules that I put around myself don't necessarily work every day, but I think if you've got something to work with, then it's a lot easier. Like something that's quantifiable for yourself is helpful. And then I guess the second tip would be to not be too hard on yourself when you fail, because I think we often can get caught up in the whole perfectionism side of things, which was definitely something I struggled with. And because it's really like self-sabotaging, I think, when we do that, because if you're saying like, I'm going to not eat, I don't know, sweets or something for, this whole month, and then the moment you get tempted and you eat a sweet, then you're like, I can't do it, I'll just quit, and then you just you kind of negate all the progress that you would have made. So maybe like you had already gone, I don't know, like 15 days without eating sweets. Like acknowledge that you've done something that's hard as well. So so I guess like, I'm trying to summarize it as I go along, but like first thing, like have a framework. Second thing would be to like not get too caught up in being perfect about it. And then the third thing would be just to like acknowledge like the progress you have made, because like even if you've only, you know, say not eaten sweets for 10 days and then you fail on day 11, that's still 10 days that you've done it. You've achieved your goal. So that's worth it, celebrating, like celebrate the small victories. And then like as you do, like the small steps are what leads to the, you know, overall long-term, you know, progress that you're seeking. So hopefully that helps.
I'm sure it will help somebody. Thank you for the 3 simple steps.
You're welcome. Yeah. Anything else you want to?
Well, I was gonna say thank you so much for participating in the giveaway. Would you like to tell people what it is and who can win this giveaway?
Yeah, sure. What I'd love to give away to your audience is a custom mini watercolor portrait. So like I said, this is one of the new offerings that I'm putting in my online store. And it's essentially, I wish I had an example. I'll send you that example so that you can show the audience in the video. But it's a small kind of A4 portrait. The winner will send like a reference photo, and it's for up to 4 adults and plus a maybe baby if you want, or a fur baby that you might have. And it's just a keepsake that you can kind of, it's just like a little way in which you can capture the moment that maybe you're in right now, or maybe a memory that you've had previously, like a really nice photo from like an event or something like that, and we can turn it into a watercolor portrait that then becomes a little keepsake for your family, for Mother's Day even, or for your friends. So so that's just something that we can give away to the lucky winner, whoever that's going to be.
Nice.
And it's just something that I hope will just bring hope and joy to whoever receives it, because that's kind of the mission of my Art by Ames business as well.
Yes, I love it. And for those who can't imagine what Amy is talking about, you will see the example that I will be showing. And I take that this is valid for Australian residents.
Residents. Yeah, just Australian residents.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. Before I ask you my last questions, is there anything that you feel like I didn't ask or you would like to share about your service or about yourself?
I think that's the main things. Yeah, so like I said, the Art by Ames business is available. Like you can check it out on my website, which again, I'm sure Ting will put the details there. Very active on Instagram as well, so feel free to contact me there. Love DMs and just talking to people about creativity, or even if there's a particular project or vision that you have for your creative artwork or something. And just because I don't have, just because I haven't shown it on my Instagram page or something like that doesn't mean that I can't help you with it. And if I really can't, then I'll obviously direct you in the right direction to someone else. But yeah, in terms of, I guess, like if you're interested in learning modern calligraphy, then my plan is to hopefully do some online workshops soon. It's still a work in progress, so you won't see anything advertised about it, but if you're interested, feel free to just send me an email as well. So that's it.
Love it. Well, my last question for you is, how do you think we can help each other right now?
Just generally? Or okay. So I think being generous and kind, I think, to each other, like during this season, is so important, because we have been kind of stripped away by a lot of our usual community groups. So I think being open to new connections, I guess, and new ways of communicating, I think is really important in how we can help each other get through this season. And I think just looking for those opportunities. Looking for those opportunities in which you can help make someone else's life a bit easier or better, because I think there's that I can't say the word, but anyway, it's like reciprocal. So kind of you give and you will receive, kind of thing. So
yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. And and thank you so much for your time. I hope you will have an amazing afternoon. I know you have to get back to work.
Yes, unfortunately, but all good. But yeah, thank you for your time as well. It was lovely to chat.
How beautiful is Amy's artwork? I hope you have enjoyed the interview and that you are walking away with a few tips that you can implement now in your own life. And as I mentioned in the interview, please don't wait till you have some health issue or something terrible happen in your life to start changing the bad habits into good. Start cherishing whatever you have right now and start recognizing what you need to change in your life and note them down and know that you can change. All you need to do is take action. The giveaway Amy is offering is so beautiful. Her details and the terms and conditions will be in the description below. Now, if you feel paralyzed by your own thoughts and you are unsure how to really take that step, you might be interested in the interview here. Or you can leave some comments below or get in contact with me through email. Because remember, you are amazing and you are not alone. And I'll see you in the next video.